Let's talk about de-dollarization, a term that's been buzzing around, especially among the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, you might have heard a lot about how these countries are trying to break free from the grip of the US dollar, but let's unpack this a bit because the reality is far more complex than just a simple shift in currency. First off, we need to understand why Russia is so keen on this de-dollarization movement. It's largely a reaction to Western sanctions. Russia wants to protect its economy, to insulate itself from geopolitical vulnerabilities that come with being tied to the dollar. But here's the kicker. The dollar isn't just any currency. It's deeply entrenched as the world's reserve currency. It's like the king of currencies, backed by stability, liquidity, and a trust that's hard to shake. For de-dollarization to really take off, we need a robust alternative. And let's be honest, that alternative doesn't exist at scale right now. Now, let's zoom in on the BRICS nations themselves. They're not exactly a homogeneous group. They have vastly different economic priorities and challenges. Take China, for instance. It's the heavyweight in this bloc, and it's definitely looking to reduce U.S. influence while boosting its own currency, the yuan. But then we have countries like India and Brazil. They might not share the same urgency or even see a benefit in this shift. In fact, if the yuan were to take the place of the dollar in trade settlements, it could lead to some serious internal imbalances within BRICS itself. China's dominance could overshadow the economic interests of the other members, creating tension rather than unity. And let's not forget about the economic dominance that underpins the dollar's strength. The U.S. economy is massive, influential, and backed by institutions that inspire global confidence. For any currency or mechanism to rise up and challenge the dollar, it needs to have an equally strong or even stronger economic foundation. Right now, while BRICS nations are influential in their own right, they don't present a united or stable enough front to take on the dollar. In essence, de-dollarization might sound like a noble long-term goal for some of these countries, but the economic realities and divergent interests among them say otherwise. It's a bit like trying to steer a ship with a crew that's all pulling in different directions. A coordinated effort is crucial, and that means aligning their economic strategies while building trust in alternative systems. So, what does this mean for the future? Well, if these nations really want to make a dent in dollar dominance, they need to come together, not just in theory, but in practice. They need to create a shared vision that addresses their individual economic needs while also considering the collective strength of the bloc. For now, though, it seems that de-dollarization remains more of a distant prospect than an imminent reality. It's a complex puzzle that requires not just economic strategies, but also political will and a lot of trust building among nations that are still figuring out their own paths. So, while the conversation around de-dollarization is important and worth having, we must approach it with a healthy dose of realism. The dollar is still king, and dethroning it isn't as simple as waving a magic wand. It's going to take time, effort, and a lot of collaboration. Let's keep watching this space, because the dynamics of global finance are always shifting, and who knows what the future holds.